Right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Kurt, the recovering addict, saved by grace, and the general manager of the RAEL organization, Sober City, and lots more than what we do than just run a addiction recovery center. A lot of you guys do know me by name. A lot of the watchers know me from social media. Some follow us on different forms of social media, and some that watch I'm pretty close to, because you mean a lot to me in my recovery and generally in my journey that I've been on. So, we've heard some of my story and the background. Hi everybody. The names are coming up quickly, so I missed some. How's it, Garth? How's it, Lee J? Social media manager all the way there in the UK. Thanks for making me look nice on the pictures and giving the people hope and sharing our things on social media. Because sometimes on drugs and not always the sufferer, but the parents, the loved ones, and all of that, they find hope through social media. So it's never a brag of what or how we do it. It's generally a message of hope that we're always trying to send out. You see, Lee J, my cup represents you. Even though I'm in South Africa. And, okay, that was, sorry about that. That was Mr. Hall. He's just on the other side of the farm there, busy with the guys and that. And just making sure that I was reaching out to the rest of the world. Because that's what we do at the RAEL organization. As again I say, good evening to everybody that's watching, and it's nice to have you. Not everybody's always on time. It's like I was also about a minute late tonight, but that's not going to harm my recovery. And sometimes the way the world judges people in recovery and the rest of it is that when we do the slightest thing wrong, the minute I haven't kept up a little bit of my disciplines or shaved or I'm looking a little bit red-eyed from a windy day or whatever, then people are quick to say, good evening, Dad. How's it? Nice to see you watching. Thank you. It's people are quick to judge and say, hey, that guy's on his way back down and whatever, because they're used to our rises and falls, and you get many people along the way that want a part of the glory on the way up, but it's very difficult to find people to help on the way down. And I don't want anybody at all to take that personally, but more what I want to do is I want to thank Mr. Anthony Hall tonight and the RAEL organization of the journey that they've walked with me. And as I was saying in the beginning, much has been heard of my story, and there's lots of people that know me by name, by face, and from social media and things like that. But not a lot of people have lived with me through my story, and to the addict out there, I do what I do in the hope that you can find what I found today, what I've got today, what I was chasing through active addiction all the time is what I found in recovery today. So as I was saying, just a quick word to the addicts out there. in recovery is that when I stopped practicing my recovery, when I stopped for one day, the people very close to me noticed. When I stopped for 2 days practicing my recovery, then the people a little less closer to me notice. And just like in active addiction, I'm always the last to notice. And that is what we do here going forward when we come through our primary program at the RAEL organization and RAEL Recovery Center, is that we become a close knit of people that care for each other, keep eyes on each other, and have all been through very similar events and know the addiction game and things like that. And we're lucky enough to have the experience to warn each other, hey brother, or hey my friend, that you on a rocky road. But most of all, I'd like to explain just maybe parts of my journey with RAEL. And I know in recovery, the way it's done from the old days, that's the way it's taught over here. Because I know there's some parents and things watching. Sometimes not our parents, but a lot of times we think, or I think that my parents made my life very comfortable for me, and actually, only because they wanted to make it easier and better than their own. And Auntie Connie all the way from Durban there, I think. Yes, that's Auntie Connie from Durban. Hi Iris. Good evening, welcome. Thanks for watching and supporting us always and helping us carry the message. And so in 2007, that is when the RAEL organization obviously started, with Mr. Hall being 2 years sober at that time, and he was running, besides the 5 support group meetings that he was running, and there's a classic story behind it about how a man can come from the park bench. Obviously, I leave his story to himself, and I can only tell the bits and pieces of the story of him being there in my story, and the version of it as I know it. Excuse me. So geez, in 2007 there was a rough period in my life just before that where I'd gotten addicted to heroin. Obviously, there's a stream of other things before heroin that I was addicted to, or that I was abusing heavily, and hadn't noticed the effects on my own life at the time yet. But as I was saying earlier, is that we usually the last to notice, and parents were worried, and I was being discharged from a rehab in another area in the country, and family members of mine was ready to pick me up in town when I had gotten off from the bus. There I was readily welcomed by Mr. Hall when he had, and just need somebody to talk to, or somebody to hear them, or understand them, or help, or whatever it is that they needed. In my own experience was I'd witnessed myself at times then also, being very young, or a lot younger. That was 13 years ago, and I would notice then that didn't really mean much to me then, but as I see it today, a little bit more mature, and had learnt a little bit more lessons, and obviously a lot more pain and despair and distraction added to my story after 2007. So getting involved with RAEL that time, and Mr. Hall and things like that, he would drop what he was doing. I could phone him at any time of the day, and say, even if I said I don't feel comfortable, or I wanna speak, or whatever. Business got put on the back burner during the day, and I can guarantee you I wasn't the only person that was phoning him, because while he was speaking to me and we were having coffee and things like that, and he always said to me, if I can contribute to keeping you sober and helping you not what we call in the area where I come from in Buddhism, walking over the bridge or to go and get drugs, if I can keep you from that for an extra 5 minutes, then I will help you in any way that I can do that. And and that's what he did. There was many people along the way, or at the time as well, when I would meet with him, and also he'd take me with, and we'd speak to people that are withdrawing from alcohol, people's families that don't know which way to turn. And it was never about him. It was always about carrying the message and going any lengths to do so for another person. And thanks, Vanna. And I think maybe that's where this comes from today with me, is that a guy mentioned in the meeting the other night that like myself, Mr. Wall, and a couple of other guys here whose names were mentioned last night, I do recovery now the way I use drugs. When I used drugs before, whether I was acting nice, whether I was doing you a favor, no matter what I was doing, I was thinking about my next hit. There was times in active addiction when and obviously I sort of identify the time frame with sometimes with songs that play and things like that, because you get used to the music and things that are playing on the radio, and that sort of helps me remember what times of my life it was. And I mentioned to a very close friend of mine that's also in recovery, I mentioned to him that there was times, because one of these songs played yesterday on the radio, and I mentioned to him that there was times that I would hear this song, and I actually got goosebumps as the song was playing, and I mentioned to him that there was times in that year when that song used to play often on the radio. I can remember sitting there and thinking how much I want to stop drugs, but at the same time something inside of me is planning and wanting to get my next fix and how I'm going to get it, really wanting to stop, and I believe that is what really sucks the soul out of a person. That is what really breaks a person down. It's the first 10 years of bad heroin addiction. All I done was chase my life materially, what I had before, and the way it was before the addiction and the destructive part of heroin addiction and things. And that was normal. It was very abusive, partying and drinking and carrying on and all of that. And those were the times that I wanted to go back to. And I was taught from that time in 2007, you can never go back to those times, eh? As an addict, you can never, as I say, there was a time that I thought that the RAEL, I went to RAEL to learn how to drink or drug and do it without my life becoming unmanageable. But as I've said before in meetings, in addiction recovery, identify with me that my body doesn't know. The physical part of addiction is that my body doesn't know whether that comes from the pharmacy, the dealer, the bottle store, the hardware store, whatever can make you high. My body, when that goes into my body, it doesn't know where it's coming from. All it knows is that once it goes in, I need something more. I need something more, and that starts a compulsion off inside of me. And I always thought, after the first bit of heroin addiction, I could go back to drinking. I could go maybe back to smoking a joint, or I could go back to going to a trance party once a year and just taking something there to make it better. Because at that stage, I didn't believe that there was anything else besides heroin that could make my life unmanageable, because I couldn't see the unmanageability before then. And DJ. And so I started my journey with RAEL and with Mr. Hall. That by that stage I'd already known by face and sort of from our area and things like that. And for the periods of time that I was with him, doing things with him and things like that, it felt good, and there was some kind of sense of freedom. But I didn't know that it was that sense of freedom that I was feeling was coming from doing something for somebody else, and getting my own selfish motives out of the way. Because addiction and alcoholism is very selfish and self-centered. And I don't know if any of the parents and loved ones can agree with me. But that is the nature of addiction. And for me to get out of my own selfish motives and ways, I need to carry the message and to do things for other people. And that is what ultimately saves my life after me spiritually and mentally cleaning up myself. So yeah, later on after that, I didn't listen, or I stopped listening and things like that, and I ended up going to prison in 2010. I then later was a little bit involved on and off with RAEL again. And in 2014, I remember washing my feet outside my mom's house because I was living on the streets, because I knew the procedure when you get to rehab. It's obviously your things they go through your things and all of that, because I'd been to rehab at that stage a couple of times. And it was a pretty rainy day when Mr. Hall came to come and pick me up, and I was basically living on the streets. And my mom wouldn't give me my toiletries until the bakkie pulled into the complex to pick me up, because I just sold everything that came my way. I'd sell it. So he picked me up there, and I was so hurt and scared of myself at that stage, that I remembered lying in the back of the bakkie with a blanket over my head, and all I was thinking was that it didn't matter where I was going, as long as I wasn't going back to where I came from. The drugs, the streets, and everything else had humbled me, had deflated me completely. I didn't believe that it was possible for me to live a life. I didn't think that I was able to live a life where I'd be able to get clean from drugs. And when I only took my head out of under the blanket once the bakkie had turned into the farm and stopped, and Miss Paul said to me that I'm going to be okay now. Sorry, it's hectic memories. And something in me believed him, and the journey went on. It was very difficult, but there they were, all the members of the RAEL organization at my side the whole way, and it was there again when I witnessed that in a very big world we meet people that are at that stage. I wasn't sure if God did exist, if he didn't exist, or what there was. But what made me actually, funnily enough, believe that there might just be good, because there's so much bad. And no matter what I did before coming here, I'd tried different medications. I'd been to psychologists. I'd been to doctors, and you guys have heard the story that Mr. Wall tells about the one addict helping another and climbing in the hole with you and getting out. And that is what I believe they did. Each time a new person comes into the organization, what Mr. Wall does and what he's taught me to do is to get into that hole with them, because I believe that he's shown me the way out. So as the journey went on, I obviously, I was so desperate, and even at times knowing that there's nowhere else in the world to go. Addiction is so cunning, baffling, powerful, and strikes your mind so hectically that on many days when I couldn't handle the feeling of what was going on inside of me, the gravel road didn't look too bad. And that is how I would always give up on myself at times, because I deal with an illness that tells me that I don't have an illness. And what I noticed and what I want to point out this evening in that time, and I mentioned it earlier, excuse me, it's not corona, I promise. I think it might be nicotine withdrawal. So I'm gonna have one of my that I still have from the supply we got before the restrictions came, because I've learned good life skills here. Some of them is how to budget, and others is how to manage your time, and I budgeted pretty well with the cigarettes that I had before lockdown. So sorry to those that didn't budget and manage theirs properly. I know how you feel, and I'm sure that some of the smokers know now at the time, how I felt. I mentioned in one of the meetings the other evening that how many people that are, or how many of the older, mature people really do want to smoke cigarettes, that started off smoking cigarettes and started off trying it and things like that. And it's the same with us and those of us that had tried drugs. Maybe it started out a bit fun. We were ignorant, thought that the rest of the story couldn't happen to us. The stories that we heard when people came and spoke at our school and things like that, and all of that. And as I was saying, what I noticed about what Mr. Wall does to stay sober is help other people 24/7. I noticed he was at the center. If he wasn't at the center, he was doing outreaches in communities. He was speaking at schools. He was just everything as if an alcoholic was going to a bottle store. He was addicted to carrying this message of hope and recovery that he has found. And I must say, with respect, Mr. Hall, that at your age, it's difficult sometimes for a young man to keep, like me, to keep up with you the way you carry the message, and I'm sure, I'm no judgment, but I'm sure that the way you carry the message, or the passion that you got about that, is the passion that a lot of us had for the wrong things in the beginning, and that is where my desperation turned then later on to passion, because you see another man come into the center in the same way, in the same hole that you were in, and you climb into that hole with him, that I've seen Mr. Hall do over and over and over, and you show him the way out, and it's almost never easy. You'll hear people say that the hardest thing that I've stopped doing was drinking or active addiction. So, we do all these things, and like I started off the meeting, I said that it's never to be noticed. It's always in the hope that somebody can find this something, this joy, this passion, this peace, this goodness inside of me, compared to the hell and destruction that as I like I said, I wasn't sure that if did exist anymore or didn't, or whatever, but I witnessed that hell existed, and this organization took me out of hell. So it's very difficult always to remember timelines and exact happenings and all of that, and I really do know today that being a lot more involved, because we don't only run the recovery center, we do outreaches, like I said. We active in doing home interventions. We are active in speaking at schools. Obviously, we can't now with the lockdown and things like that. We are very active in trying to remove the stigma of addiction and alcoholism. Would people look at me the same and treat me the same today if I had a broken T-shirt on and was unshaved and my cheekbones were showing a lot more than what they're showing now? I don't think they're showing too much anymore, but and I was dirty, and that is part of what breaks the addicts and people down, and the behavior that sort of goes with it. But from experience, I can say that I was a really sick person, a really, really sick person, and today I witness and know that my parents also know what hell is. My parents also definitely know what hell is, because I hear the calls of the parents. I speak to them 24/7, and sometimes it's not even a matter of booking somebody in, but just the parent that needs an ear to listen, or and the first thing they always ask is what did they do wrong? How did they do this wrong? And there's never a time that I see the way Mr. Hall does things, and I just want to add that the RAEL organization is Mr. Hall, and doing things. So whether I say Mr. Hall or whether I say RAEL, it's basically the same thing in my eyes. So just to carry on a little bit with the journey and things like that, is then so I started witnessing people around me, finding this recovery, because it's so much more than just not being on drugs. Because I found that at my previous places and rehabilitation centers and one or two correctional facilities, that just being off the drugs wasn't enough. I needed some kind of recovery within myself. I needed some kind of something to give me a okayness. To not feel funny without drugs, but at the same time not wanting to do drugs and knowing that it causes so much harm and destruction. So I noticed that all this organization does is reach out to other people and take care of their needs, and and that is how the rest of our needs sort of fall into place and come right. And I just want to add as well that that there's been many worldwide recognized days that has been founded by RAEL, which I just said that whether I say RAEL or Mr. Hall, it's that is, to me, it's just about the same thing. And it's the World Day of Prayer against addiction, because I've learned over the years we can't do this without God. There's I've heard Mr. Hall say plenty times that he's never seen a man recover long term and stay in sobriety without God. And over my time of searching for answers and ways out and all of that, it's I have to agree to his statement and agree that I've been witness to that I've never seen it being done without God. So the one very highly recognized day that was founded in 2010, it's the World Day of Prayer Against Addiction. The World Day of Prayer Against Addiction, which is on the 11th of the 4th. That's the 11th of April. It was founded in 2010. And then we have World Addiction Day. That is also in September. And these days are recognized worldwide by people, by addicts, by loved ones of addicts, and when I say addicts, I mean alcoholics as well. I also mean pharmaceutical abusers and an abuser, and that takes you down. Whatever your poison is, that's what I mean when I say addiction. Whatever gets the better of you, that you don't want to get the better of you, but it does anyways. I've been taught a program that it can't get the better of me anymore. There isn't a glitch in the system that I've been taught at RAEL to follow for me to have an excuse to pick up drugs. There isn't a glitch in the system. I can never again say that I'm ignorant, or that I didn't know, or that I was misinformed, or anything like that. And that is how much we talk about addiction here and work with people to better their lives. And I think that's why life keeps on getting better, is because you see other people's lives get better. So yes, then it's World Addiction Day on the 21st of September. And that was founded in 2009 by Mr. Hall as well. It's also known worldwide. We celebrate it, and then it's our RAEL Orange Friday, our different pages that we have, and also like I said, we used to do a lot of activism walks and go speak in communities, and I actually spoke at a community hall, and I name dropped all the dealers. There were parents and people sitting amongst that people in the community hall that I'd sold stolen items to. And I actually said to them, how do you expect your kids to stop doing drugs if you are buying stolen items from drug addicts who are selling it? And later on, like I said, there's no glitch in the system. I once again stopped listening. That was in 2016. Towards the end of it, I had a relapse that almost killed me because of me not listening, because of me getting arrogant, because of me thinking I'm better than the game, bigger than the game, and after name dropping all those dealers, I got myself into a state where I needed them again, and yeah, luckily they wanted to sell their drugs. And they knew that when I was in a bad state, I bought a lot. Otherwise, they would have killed me before the drugs did. And we've been to those. We go to those communities. We do community upliftment, and I also started the meeting off with saying that it's never to be recognized. It's always it's always in the hope that somebody else can maybe also help another man. Somebody else can maybe help another family. And then we've got our RAEL Orange Friday that who watch now, who watch live now, and then there's people all over the world and people that once they're back at work tomorrow with a free Wi-Fi, watch our videos and things like that. But it's been complete destruction with this lockdown, especially because we lose our connection and we need connection, we need love, we need to identify, and that's what our close-knit has here at the organization, and that's why we stay in contact with people after they've left here. And Mr. Hall mentioned a couple of them last night. And our Orange Friday, which is it's a addiction awareness campaign that you can see on the RAEL Orange Friday Journal. It's an addiction awareness campaign that has also got to do with activism and reaching out to parents and encouraging people to remove the stigma by wearing something orange on a Friday. And so that we can identify with each other. As I said before in videos, is that what happens very often in our communities is that I'm a neighbor of a parent of an addict, but there's too much pride and hurt for me to say to him, hey brother, I know what you're going through. I've also got a son or a daughter or a loved one that is on drugs and that is abusive to our family, not always physically, but maybe with manipulation, maybe with stealing, maybe with all those stories that the addicts and loved ones come up with to manipulate and to just get more and more and more out of the system, out of the family systems, out of the work systems, just to get more out of everything. And that is the nature of the illness. And the way I've been taught to go up against that is to instead of take more is to give more. And so on Fridays, every Friday, because how many households and how many families and things go into a state of panic, especially on a Friday. Not only month-end Friday. Okay, addiction kills every day, but on a Friday, how many parents and loved ones and even addicts on a Friday, how many family members go into a state of panic? What is he going to do tonight? What am I going to notice going missing tomorrow morning? Is he going to be back tonight? Am I going to get that call? Can I go somewhere tomorrow with it being Saturday, or is my house going to be broken into by him or her or whoever the person suffering with the illness is? And that's why we say, somebody got me wrong once on a meeting where I said that it's a family illness, and that is what Orange Friday stands for. Is that I can identify with you that has a son or loved one that is using, and together we can share the burden, and that's how we come out of things, and that is how it becomes lighter. That is how we find solutions, and that is how we share our experience, our strength, and grow together. And that's what has happened over the time with my involvement with Mr. Hall and RAEL from 2007. Sometimes I still suffer a lot with giving myself credit to a certain extent, but I believe that I've, by the grace of God and by Mr. Hall passing the message on to me, that I've helped a lot of people along the path, and or done my best to, and families and loved ones of addicts. So that is what we stand for. We stand for helping the next person, and as I said, the the recovery center farm is just a minority, small piece of what we do. There's times I get so frustrated, but I need to be willing to listen to that extra 5 minutes to almost the same stories all the time, of parents saying, I just can't take it anymore, and all they need is somebody to speak to, and I need to be willing to listen to them, need to be willing to help them, and identify with them, and maybe lead them onto a way out. And the more we carry the message, and the more we carry the message to remove the stigma, that I don't need to be embarrassed or shy to tell you, like, hey, my also on drugs, we also going through this thing. The more we can stand together and find solutions, the more we can stand together and find solutions, and help people to get results, the same results that I'm happy that I got. And there's many more that have exceeded and outgone my results. But my results that I'm happy with, to be happy with myself today. So I didn't really wanna get too emotional earlier, but so that's why I didn't carry on with much more of my story. But that, I'd just like to give everybody an idea of what we put in. Mr. Hall always says what you put in is what you'll get out. And results count in recovery. And the reason why I'm here is because I've seen results in the message that he carried to people on the program and surrounds and in everything else that he done. I seen results in them which gave me hope. Because as I said, by the time I got here, I didn't believe that it was possible anymore for me to live a life drug-free and to ever find happiness. But here I sit today, I'm almost happy as a pig in shit, but happy, content, with a full life. We don't always I don't like to judge success by material successes, but I've got what I need in life materially. But most of all, I'm glad that I got to meet with this organization and with Mr. Hall and all the people involved along the way that God's used as an instrument, and has proven to me that God exists. You can call me a Bible basher. It's better than calling me, there goes that heroin junkie. Breaker. Always me. But God exists, and I believe that God put the RAEL organization on my path, and maybe I even believe that He's using me as an instrument today in other people's lives. Because the only reason why I can say that is because we see the results, and that's what counts in recovery. Not the clean time, not just the time that the drugs are done and the loved ones into or off the drugs, but the lasting effects of people going out there, getting married, making families, living their dreams out after having no hope at all. And so to everybody that's got a loved one in recovery, that's got a loved one in active addiction, we said a prayer for all of them on the, we do, but especially we take a real time out on the 11th of April, on the World Day of Prayer Against Addiction, that as I said was founded by this organization. And most of the guys sitting here are a result of a mother's prayer. And so I just want to leave everybody with that tonight, in the hope that that it can give you some kind of hope, some kind of relief, some kind of something just to hang on there, to hang in there, and to the moms and loved ones and parents that are praying for their loved ones, don't stop praying. Don't stop praying, because we're dealing with evil. And if evil exists, God must exist too. So, good evening to everybody. If you're in recovery, reach out at any time, and we'll always do our best to get back to you from the RAEL organization. So I'm going to say good night to everybody. God bless, and I really do hope that this destruction and harm and everything else that goes along with it can stop. But if it can stop for me and for my family, then it can stop for you. God bless everyone. Thank you to the RAEL organization and to Mr. Anthony Hall for the opportunity for tonight on what I believe is borrowed time. But the way I use my time today is for the good. Or I do my best to use it for the good. As I say, I'm no saint, but at least I'm not what I used to be. God bless you all. Thank you.